Yes, team, welcome to today's training. So today we're going to discuss how the decisions that we make will either make or break our life. And the decisions that we have made over time are what will shape us. But it's sometimes not just the decisions that we make, it's often the decisions that we don't make, normally due to fear and procrastination. So these decisions will shape our future, and ultimately they'll also shape the future of our loved ones, which is why it's so important that today we learn to get a handle on how we make better decisions. So I've spoken about this many times before on how the adversity in our life can become our struggle or our strength. And for many years, I used all of the struggles that I'd been through as the reason why I did destructive things, the reason why I got off my head, the reason why I punched people's faces in, the reason why I got pissed, the reason why I made excuses. And essentially, that was one big lie that I told myself to keep myself safe. We can then turn the same thing into whatever adversity we faced, we can use that to become our strength. So every time you go through something tough, you become stronger. Struggle is what builds your character. Challenge is what builds your character. And if you're not facing challenge and you're not facing struggle, quite simply, you're probably not playing big enough. So the example that I've always used was every time I messed up, every time I did something wrong, I either blamed my mental health, or I blamed my dad abandoning me, or I blamed my mum dying when I was 6 months old. It's almost embarrassing to share those things now, but essentially that's what you do because you're trying to make yourself feel better in the moment about the bad decision that you made. And your decisions are your responsibility. So how we can then twist this is then, and I spoke about this at Mindset Mastery Live, I can allow my mother dying to be the reason that I keep doing destructive things, which as I said was a lie, or I can use it as the reason why I keep doing so many positive things. It's exactly the same thing. It's just the decision that we make. So the decisions that we make, as I said, are what will change our lives. But we have to understand it's not just about the decisions that we make. It's sometimes about the decisions that we don't make, which is what we're going to come on to today. So if we now know that our decisions and our actions are the most important factors in our life, how do we start to control them? And that's what we're going to learn today. So it might be something as simple as a decision to get pissed or not, a decision to go to the gym or to skip the workout, to be positive or negative, to be kind or angry, to throw the first punch or walk away, to pick the pizza or the steak, or the most simple one of all, just to say yes or to say no, dependent on whether that decision aligns with the future that you keep saying you want. So all of your decisions will come down to one single thing: your mental strength, your mental grit, and your mental resilience. People don't really hate their lives. They don't really hate their bodies. They don't really hate their past. What they really hate is that all of those things are a representation of the weak decisions that they've made over time. Your body is a reflection of your decisions. Your life is a reflection of your decisions. Your financial health is a reflection of your decisions. And you have to take responsibility and ownership of that to move forward, because if you don't, you're going to stay stuck forever. So how do we become mentally tougher? How did I go from weak to strong? And I'm not perfect, in case any of this comes across preachy. I still make bad decisions on a regular basis. How regular? Nat will probably tell you on that one. But you know, it's not about being perfect, it's about being better. So don't think you need to read this and be completely healed in one day, or watch this, sorry. So we become mentally tougher by forcing ourselves to do hard things through choice. Don't wait for challenge and hardship to find you. Go out and seek it. Stop looking for the path of least resistance and go and seek out the path of most resistance. And I'm going to give you some great examples of things you can do today. And most of you won't, because you're going to be fucking pussies instead. Now, they're not even hard things. Okay? A few years ago, I fasted for 3 days and I ran a half marathon on each of those days. Everyone thought I was absolutely fucking crackers. Why would you do that? Well, one, I got pretty lean and felt pretty good and felt mentally switched on and tougher. But two, I wanted to prove it that I could do it to myself. It's easy to sit on the couch and choose Netflix and not go for the run and eat crap. But could you really do that? And if you can't, then you need to question your mental toughness, because that isn't actually a tough thing. Okay? Anybody could do that if you're willing to push yourself, which is we're going to come on to. So the point that I'm getting at with this, having done that, do you now think sticking to a 2,500 calorie diet seems difficult or easy? Having run 100 miles, do you think a marathon seems difficult or easy? And this is not about me showboating about the things that I've done, because it might just be something as simple as a 2-minute cold shower. It's whatever you need to do at your level to improve your mental strength. But as long as you avoid tough things, life's going to get harder. The more you embrace tough things, life's going to get easier. So how easy does a 5K feel once you've pushed yourself to do a half marathon? How easy does a half marathon feel once you've pushed yourself to do a marathon? Now, the problem is most people are doing the absolute polar fucking opposite. So they avoid anything that's hard, anything that causes pain, anything that causes discomfort. And this isn't always your fault, because the body's hardwired for survival, it's hardwired for safety, and it will try to keep you safe, which is why you need to train your mind to take a different road. Now, if you keep avoiding discomfort or pain, and that's become a mindset that you've adapted and you've become subconscious to it, no, I'm not going to do that, then that's the first thing that we need to work on today. And this is a perfect example that I wrote down today, and I chose not to work with this person because they wouldn't do this even as a starting point. This person was begging to work with me on their physical and mental health. He said to me, I'm not doing a Zoom call, can we do a phone call? I don't do Zoom, it makes me feel uncomfortable. How do you think that guy's life's going to pan out? And this isn't about digging out anyone who's suffering with confidence or anxiety, but if you're not even willing to do that little thing, to move forward, to help yourself, to change, to do something new, then nobody can help you. Because as the age-old phrase goes, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So, no doubt, said guy, who did have an alcohol problem and a food problem, judging by his waistline, if he needed to jump on Zoom to book a pizza or get another beer, I'm pretty sure he would have done. But that comes down to our values, and that's another training, so I'm not going to go into that today. So what could you start with today? Like, you could start with something as simple as a cold shower or a cold bath, and challenge yourself. Can you get off of this live and go and stand in a cold shower for 30 seconds or more? Because if you can, then the day after you can do 60, and then 90, and then 2 minutes, and then 3 minutes, and then 4 minutes. And it's the same with running. If you've never run 100 meters, challenge yourself to run 100 meters, and then tomorrow try for 200. That's how I ran my first marathon. I'd never ever run a marathon, and I did it in 30 days just by adding 1 mile each day. So when we're mentally weak, we become addicted to comfort. So we like the warm shower. We don't want the cold shower, okay? We don't want to make the healthy decisions with food and go to the shop because it's easier to pick up the phone and call Just Eats. Now, the more you do this, the stronger you'll get. But the more you'll avoid it, the weaker you'll get. And that's the real dangerous part about it, because both options are uncomfortable, right? And I want you to think of it this way. You either go through the discomfort of going to the gym and sorting out your toxic habits, making better choices, eating healthier food, or you get the discomfort of being massively overweight, dying too soon, being a disgraceful role model to your kids, and getting out of breath walking up the stairs. Now, this is what twists my head about it sometimes, and this might seem a little bit harsh, right? But People will talk about how much they hate their body, how ashamed they are, how uncomfortable it makes them feel every day. They feel disgusted at social occasions. Guys who haven't even seen their private parts in the last 10 years. People who aren't having any sex in their marriage because they're that disgusted and ashamed of their own body. How uncomfortable does that sound? Yet you can't go through the discomfort of going into a gym because you're worried about what people are going to say. Well, I'd be a lot less worried about what people are going to say going into a gym than I would be not having sex with my wife because I didn't have the confidence and I couldn't get it up because I was that overweight. Like, both options are uncomfortable, right? This is what I'm getting at. Like, choose your hard. You can't say all that stuff about being in that much pain and discomfort, but yet you're unwilling to go through the little bit of comfort of maybe getting up early, hydrating, tracking your food, journaling, jumping on Zoom and going for a morning walk each day. So how do we change this, right? And if you're struggling with that, I feel for you because I've been there. But I also need to give you a wake-up call today. I'm a coach, I'm not your best friend. So mental training is the same as physical. It takes repetition and it takes practice. First time you go into a gym, you probably can't even do the 5 kgs. By the time you've been 10, 15, 20 times, you'll be doing 7s, 10s, 12s. It's the same as mental toughness. You have to train it, but the only way you train it and get better at it is by doing tough things. It's why I push my clients to do tough things. It's why we all ran a marathon together. Jan, I know you're watching live. Some of the guys walked it and took 8 hours. Some of them were that crazy. They didn't set their watches properly and they did 29 miles. But we made them do tough things. And then they had a sense of accomplishment. And then once you've walked a marathon, do you think a 5K morning walk feels so difficult anymore? Of course it doesn't. So, and again, it's why the same, we went to Eskdale, to the Lake District, and everyone jumped 12 foot off a bridge into a plunge pool. You can see the videos on my Instagram. But again, tough things. It built their mental resilience. Every single one. Like even me, when I stood at the top of that bridge to demonstrate it, of course I had fear. What if I hadn't dived down further enough when I did the check, even though I knew I had? What if some debris had come through? What if I slipped on the bridge? You're always going to have those doubts, but you only get stronger by taking the action. Now, every time you step out of your comfort zone and say no, you will grow your willpower muscle. Every time you say no to your knobhead friends who want to take you to the pub every weekend, or want you to eat shit, or want to keep you on their level, every time you say no, you get stronger. And also, here's a great one, every time you face rejection, you get stronger as well. This is another training in itself, but this comes down to confidence. People see confident people as successful people, they're not. And James Smith, the coach, told a great story when I was at a seminar with him about when he worked for Love Film. And it was the old company who used to order DVDs from via the post. You watched them and then you sent them back. They were challenging Blockbuster. Hopefully most of you are old enough to remember that, some of you won't be. But he again said that, you know, the most successful salespeople were the ones that could hear no 100 times and keep going. I hope you've enjoyed this video so far. If you'd like some help with rewiring your mindset and mastering your life, simply comment Mindset Mastery below and I'll send you the rest of this training for free.